You're listening to Murder Not Murdering with Erin,
And Autumn,
a true crime podcast about murder and murdering.
but we are not murderers.
All right, everybody. We are back at Murder Not Murdering with Erin and
Autumn, your neighborhood girl.
who eats out of the trash.
No, Erin just learned that.
Autumn
No,
is
because
quoting Taylor Swift to me.
I quoted Taylor Swift and then Erin used it against me.
That's lost on me. I don't know a lot of Taylor Swift. I got to be completely honest.
I'm a Swiftie.
Autumn's a Swiftie. I am naughty.
No, and neither's your daughter, which
No.
disappoints me because that would be an excuse for me to go to things that are underage.
Okay. Yeah.
And I wouldn't
Lucy,
look weird
she
because I
went
would have a
through
little girl there.
she went through a little phase of liking Taylor Swift for a little bit, but it was like 6 songs and she has a massive catalog, so that's not a lot. I have to listen to it at work because people like it, so I play it. It's not that I'm like anti Taylor Swift or that I'm like, there are people that are like, I hate her. I don't that's not my vibe. I just think a lot of the songs sound the same.
I like that. Give it
Well,
to me.
that's good. I mean, there's lots of stuff that I listen to, I'm sure people would think the same. So, to each their own. I'm not hating, it's just not anything I've
I
spent
like
time
Taylor
on.
Swift, and then I also like alternative and country and rock, and I mean, there's no limit. I just like it all.
Yeah. I have to like it all because it's part of my job to constantly listen to music. And I love music. I always have. But there's every once in a while, it happens maybe like twice a year where I'm like, I don't want to hear any music for a minute. Or if I've been working a lot and I've been DJing, it's really hard to stay fresh and still try new things and look for new music, and then also remember that everyone does wanna hear the hits even though I hear them all the time. That's one of the things that gets to under my skin sometimes. I'm like, "Oh my god." There's one song, though, that is banned from when I DJ because I will not play it.
What is it?
"Hey Mickey." I won't
That's
play
the s
"Hey" Tony
that's the song
Basil.
people they ask for a lot?
To roller skate to? Yes.
That's
"Hey Mickey,
interesting.
you're so fine, you blow my mind, hey Mickey." No thank you. I've heard it so many times at the rink that I'm just, like, over it. So I won't play it. I'm like, pick any other song.
Dutiful friends, you know what to do.
Mm, yeah. Hey,
Send Erin videos with that song.
I would love that so much, thank you.
Mhm.
Anywho, I, uh, I got a lot of really good feedback on our last episode.
You did?
I did. A lot of people were telling me that they thought our cases were really interesting and like the twists and turns and how they kept on going. And then mine kept going and going and going. But we both had really interesting cases. So thank you for the feedback.
Absolutely. I love hearing that.
Me too. And Autumn, I think you are going to do my request from last week
Yes, I am.
because I had so many people reaching out. And the fun thing about it is we can do a follow up after sentencing.
Uh-huh.
So stay tuned for updates regarding that particular case. If you didn't listen to last week's episode, you're in for a surprise.
Go back and listen and then listen to this one.
Yeah, listen to every single case or else.
Every single case.
It's only been what?
It's only like 80 episodes. Who cares? Go back and listen.
Yeah, it is like 80 episodes now.
It's a lot of true crime cases.
That is a lot of true crime cases, and we're still keeping it fresh. Still fine. I mean, people die all the time, but
What?
we're st- we're in a business that just keeps on giving. Sorry.
Erin.
I'm sorry. You guys, I got to be honest. I'm sick right now and my brain's not properly functioning. Just bear with me. It's
Yeah,
been
bear
our
with her while she's nutso, like, what the
well,
hell?
I'm just saying. We
I
are
cannot wait to hear her case, like, this should be very interesting. Hopefully, we can follow the bouncing ball.
oh boy, we're going to see. We're going to see how I do. No, I've been sick for a while. I don't know if you could tell in the last episode, but I was pretty nasally and editing yourself is already hard hearing your own voice, but then to hear your own voice where you sound all nasally and stuff, not fun. 0 stars, don't recommend. Yeah, I don't sound quite as nasally as I did last week, but I have had this horrible cold and I haven't been able to get rid of it. And it's just fucking brutal. I hate it. I gave it to my kid. That's
Oh,
cool.
no.
Yeah, I love
That
that.
sucks.
Yep, sharing is caring and
Yeah, I'm not into that.
or perhaps I had a cold and then she gave me this one. We don't know. We don't know. She's a little petri dish. She goes to school, you get what you get. So, I'm sick right now and I am sorry if I'm a little on another planet right now, but I'm doing my best and that's all you can do.
Do your best,
Mm-mm.
forget the rest.
Yep, I've already forgotten it.
Good.
Yeah.
Good job.
Anyways, no, I am proud of us for doing 80 episodes. That's a lot of time and research and
Mhm.
energy that went into
A
that.
lot of time.
And I love that we still keep a lot of it Pacific Northwesty, so we stay in our hometown
Lucky
area.
for us, there's so many murderers
That's
here.
what I was saying. There's an abundance. I'm just saying. I don't have
People
my
die every day.
every day.
Every day.
They just keep killing each other. I don't know.
Oh, dang. It went from people die to people are killing each other.
Well, I mean, we aren't telling stories of people that don't die. So,
Sometimes.
I mean, sometimes we have survivor stories, which
Sometimes.
ironically, I have a survivor story tonight.
Oh, shit?
Yeah. Yeah. It is not from
Dang.
the Pacific Northwest, so sorry about it. But
Story?
yeah,
Is it from Canada?
it is not from Canada. But I did
Then
drop
why'd you say it like that?
because it's Pacific Northwest, includes
No one
Canada.
in no one no. Canadians only say sorry.
That is true. Oh, we have the worst part is when you go to we don't really have accents, I don't think. But sometimes when you go really up north or you go really east, you get people that add in the R.
Yeah, I don't freaking know.
Eastern Washington.
Washington.
I
This
don't
is
wash the car.
Washington. I'm
No,
sorry,
none
there
of
is
that
no
business.
freaking R in Washington.
No, sorry about it.
Like, no matter what, like, you can where the F is the R.
Literally where the F is the R.
Washington. Get out of
Oh,
here.
I love Autumn's where the F is the R. Okay. On that note, I'm gonna change the subject and start because
Okay.
that's what I'm doing.
We're awkward. It's
Whether
okay.
you like it or not, it's transition is hard.
Oh,
Um,
yay. You really
ugh,
sold that intro.
thank you. Okay, so I'm going to be doing a famous case again. I just decided when I
Damn.
say they're
These are
famous,
the
everyone thinks they're
best.
not famous. So I'm doing famous to me then.
I'm excited. I like when
Although
you do famous cases.
we will see. We'll see if you know it. Okay. This is the kidnapping of Barbara Jane Mackle. And it is chilling.
I'm here for it.
December 17th, 1968, Coral Gables, Florida. It was supposed to be finals week. 21-year-old Barbara Jane Mackle was sick, and all she wanted to do was go home for Christmas. Barbara was the daughter of Robert and Jane Mackle. Her father was a wealthy land developer. And when I say wealthy, I mean $68 million wealthy
Oh,
in, ni-
shit.
in 1968.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
this man is like boohoo bucks.
Yeah. So he's the man behind the Mackle Company, a major builder of post war Florida subdivisions. The family was prominent, respected, and well known in the Miami area. That December, Barbara was a student at Emory University in Atlanta. She had caught a nasty flu, so her mother, Jane, drove up from Florida to bring her home before the holidays. Very sweet of her. They stopped for the night at the Roadway Inn, just off I 85 in Decatur, Georgia, room 137. That night, Barbara's boyfriend, Stuart Hunt Woodward, visited them, and then he left for the night. It was late, it was raining, and both women were exhausted. They had no idea at the time they were being watched. In the early hours of the morning, at approximately 4 a.m. on December 17th, there was a knock at the door. A man's voice called out, "Police! There's been an accident. We need you to come identify a body." Fearing that Stuart may have been in an accident, Mrs. Mackle opened the door just a crack. Standing outside were two people, a man in a parka, a ski mask, flashing what looked like a police badge, and a woman also wearing a ski mask, a black coat, and a scarf. Before she could react, the man pushed his way inside. He was holding a shotgun. The intruder, later identified as Gary Stephen Christ, knocked her out with chloroform, then bound her hands and feet. The woman that was with him, Ruth Eisman Shire, helped subdue Barbara. They forced her out of the room at gunpoint. Barbara, who was delirious from the flu and terrified, was carried to a waiting car. They drove for hours, winding through the Georgia countryside. And as the sun rose over the pines, Barbara began to realize the truth. She was being taken somewhere to die. Gary Christ had been planning this for months. A 23-year-old medical student dropout, Christ was brilliant, dangerously so. He'd been reading about kidnapping cases, studying police methods, and fantasizing about a perfect crime. He even built what he called his capsule, a fiberglass box buried underground. It was about 7 feet long, 3 feet wide, and 2 feet deep, just large enough for a human body. Inside, he installed a battery-powered fan, a small lamp, water, and some food. Barbara Mackle was his test subject. They reached the remote Pine Grove in Gwinnett County. Christ and Eismanshire forced Barbara out of the car. They handed her a pair of goggles and told her she'd be fine if she just cooperated. Then they laid her in the hole in the ground. They made her climb into the box alive. She was wearing her red flannel nightgown and her mother's brown coat. In her hand, Chris placed a small toy, a photograph of Barbara with her boyfriend, Stuart, and then he sealed the lid. Chris attached an air pipe, flipped the switch on the fan, and shoveled dirt over the top until the box disappeared beneath the forest floor.
No. I'm sorry, this is terrifying.
Barbara Mackle was buried alive 3 feet underground. She could hear the dirt falling, heavy, final. She recounted in her 1971 book, "I screamed and screamed. The sound of the dirt got further and further away. Finally, I couldn't hear anything above. I screamed for a long time after that. Then, nothing. Just the sound of her own breathing echoing in the dark." At the motel, the police arrived to a scene of chaos. Jane Mackle had managed to free herself, hysterical and half-dressed, screaming that her daughter had been kidnapped. Officers scoured the room. On the floor, they found a ransom note. It was written in careful, almost polite language. "Dear sir, your daughter has been kidnapped. She is safe and unharmed, but buried alive. If you wish to see her again, you must pay $500,000 in cash." And the note was signed, "The Fox." It included detailed instructions for a ransom drop. The letter warned, "Do not notify the authorities or your daughter will die." But by that point, the authorities were already involved. And within hours, the case exploded into one of the largest manhunts in American history. Kidnappers bury co-ed alive. FBI launches massive search, the Miami Herald wrote, December 18th, 1968. The next morning, FBI Special Agent Rex Tenney took charge of the investigation. He later described it as one of the most urgent cases of his career. "We knew we only had a limited time," he said. "A girl buried underground. Oxygen was a race against the clock." Meanwhile, deep beneath that Georgia pine grove, Barbara was still alive, and she was waiting. It's dark, completely dark. There is a faint whirl of a fan, and somewhere above, the sound of pine needles shifting in the wind. Barbara Jane Mackle is still alive, but she doesn't know for how long. Chris had given her a small bottle of water for comfort, he told her, but she didn't know it was laced with sedatives. He wanted her to stay calm and to drift in and out of consciousness. Barbara later described that the walls of the box were close enough that she couldn't lift her elbows. Her knees brushed the lid above her. She couldn't sit up, couldn't move, only breathe. And every time she took a breath, the stale air felt a little thinner. This is a literal nightmare.
I'm
Just
like,
saying.
yeah, this is awful.
Yeah. At the same time above ground, the FBI was mobilizing. Robert Mackle, frantic and sleepless, had flown from Miami to Atlanta as soon as he heard the news. The Mackle family, one of Florida's most powerful, immediately offered full cooperation. The ransom note demanded $500,000 in used $20 bills, an astronomical sum in 1968, which would equal over $4 million today. And the letter gave specific instructions. Robert was to wait for a phone call with the drop location. He was to deliver the money alone. I'm reading now from an FBI memo. At 11 a.m., Subject Mackle received telephone call from a man identifying himself as George. Voice was calm, articulate. Instructed Mr. Mackle to wait for further instructions near Biscayne Bay. The man calling himself George was, of course, Gary Christ. But Chris was running behind schedule. After burying Barbara, he and Ruth had fled the site, only to crash their car into a muddy ditch near Decatur. They abandoned the vehicle, leaving behind a treasure trove of evidence: maps, a rental agreement, a photograph of Ruth posing in front of the car. It was the first big break that the FBI really needed. Meanwhile, Barbara lay underground. Hours passed. She counted her breaths, prayed, and tried to remember her father's face. "I told myself I would not die," she later said. "I knew Daddy would find me." By December 18th, the FBI had traced the car to a rental agency in Miami. Agents discovered that it had been leased under the name George Deacon, a lab technician at the University of Miami's Marine Research Facility. They interviewed Deacon's colleagues. One remembered seeing him with a woman, Ruth Eisman Shire, a student from Honduras. Now the Bureau had names. That night, Robert Mackle received another call. The voice was calm, deliberate, almost clinical. "Mr. Mackle, your daughter is safe. Follow the instructions, and you will see her again." He was told to drive to a dirt road outside Miami, alone, with the ransom in the trunk. Agents followed at a distance, their lights off. At 2 a.m., Mackle stopped where he was instructed to, at a small bridge near Biscayne Bay. He left the suitcase by a signpost, just as the letter had said, and he drove away. When the FBI returned minutes later, the suitcase was gone. The drop had succeeded. Now they just needed Christ to keep his word, but Gary Christ was on the run. He retrieved the ransom and fled south into the Florida Everglades, using a small speedboat to reach the mangroves near Key Biscayne. The FBI's helicopter teams scoured the swamps. Every hour mattered, since they didn't know where Barbara was buried. Inside the box, Barbara began to feel the air grow hotter. The fan hummed weakly, then faltered. She turned her head towards the light, the tiny bulb mounted near her feet, and saw that it was dimming. I began to panic, she recalled. I tried to stay calm, but I knew the air was running out. She wrote notes to herself in the dark, on the notebook that Chris had left her. I love you, Daddy. Please find me. Back at the FBI command post, a new letter arrived. It read, Your daughter is buried north of Atlanta. You will receive directions soon. But the instructions were vague, the coordinates incomplete. The Bureau began mobilizing hundreds of agents to search rural areas outside Lawrenceville, Georgia. FBI teams armed with shovels are combing wooded areas north of Atlanta tonight, searching for a buried co-ed in what agents call a race against time. The next morning, December 20th, agents found something unusual along a narrow dirt road near Buford. 2 sets of fresh tire tracks, a patch of disturbed soil, and a plastic breathing pipe sticking out through the pine needles. They dropped to their knees and started digging. Within minutes, they hit fiberglass. They pried the lid open and they found her. Barbara Mackle was alive. She had been underground for 83 hours.
3 days.
Yes. When they lifted her out, Barbara was weak, covered in sweat and dirt. Her lips were cracked from dehydration, but she smiled. You found me, she whispered. One FBI agent later recalled it was like seeing someone come back from the dead. They rushed her to the hospital in Lawrenceville, where doctors confirmed she was stable. Despite dehydration and exhaustion, she was alert and remarkably calm. The nation was transfixed. Headlines blared, co-ed found alive, buried 3 days in a box. FBI ends dramatic manhunt in Georgia. Even President Lyndon Johnson sent a personal message of relief. And while Barbara was recovering, the man who buried her was hiding in the swamps with $500,000 in cash.
Jesus.
But was the fox really that clever to get away with this? December 21st, 1968, the Everglades. South Florida's endless wet labyrinth of sawgrass, mangroves, and mosquitoes, where a man could disappear if he knew how to hide. Gary Stephen Christ believed he could, but the swamps had other plans. After the Ransom drop near Biscayne Bay, Chris loaded his boat and sped off towards the backwaters near Key Biscayne. He carried with him $500,000 in used $20 bills packed into 2 waterproof suitcases. To him, this was a victory, the perfect crime. He believed Barbara Mackle would survive, he'd vanish, and he'd start a new life somewhere far away, South America maybe. But his perfect plan was already collapsing. The FBI had identified both suspects. Gary Stephen Christ, 23 years old, a convicted car thief and former medical student, and Ruth Eisman Shire, 26 years old, a biology student from Honduras who had come to the U.S. on a scholarship. They were lovers, partners in crime, and now fugitives. Subject Christ believes that he could outsmart the authorities. He made one fatal miscalculation. He left behind too many clues. Agents traced the trail through Georgia and into Florida. They had found the abandoned car, the rental papers, and fingerprints matching both suspects. Soon, the coastlines were crawling with police boats, roadblocks sealed off Miami, helicopters scanned the wetlands, and a $25,000 reward was posted for information leading to their capture. While the Bureau closed in, the press turned the story into a national obsession. Barbara's ordeal, being buried alive and found after 83 hours, was front-page news across the country. A girl who conquered death, one paper wrote. The miracle co-ed. For the Mackle family, it was over. For the FBI, it was not. Gary Christ had run aground. His small boat had broken down near the Florida Keys. Hungry, covered in mosquito bites, he started trying to hitch rides on passing fishing boats, offering stacks of cash to anyone who would take him to shore. That's when he met a man named John Mixon, a local who thought Chris looked like the guy on the run. Mixon called the Coast Guard, U.S. Coast Guard, Key Biscayne Station. Be advised, possible kidnapping suspect sighted in the bay, requesting immediate assistance. On December 21st, 1968, 4 days after Barbara was kidnapped, the Coast Guard surrounded a small boat off Key Biscayne. When they boarded, they found Gary Stephen Christ, sunburned, disheveled, and armed with a pistol. At first, he denied everything. Then, with nowhere to run, he said quietly, "She's alive. I'll show you where she is." He thought they didn't know, but they did. Barbara had already been rescued. When FBI agents told him that she'd been found safe, Christ smiled and said, "Good. I built the box well." Which is so fucked up.
Yeah, that is yes.
Great. I'm glad she was found alive. I did a really good job at that. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, like, okay, bro, that's really terrifying.
I'd like to say that was one of the most chilling quotes of the entire case, but it isn't. He wasn't relieved. He was proud. According to Tommy Morris, Gary's former parole officer, the convict wasn't just interested in ransom money. He also wanted to see whether or not he could successfully keep Barbara alive while she was buried underneath the ground. He was looking for a rich, tough-minded female, somebody who could stand up to the trauma of being buried alive. Barbara Jane Mackle fit that profile. Christ was arrested on the spot. The FBI recovered most of the ransom money floating in the waterproof containers nearby. But Ruth Eisman Shire was still missing. Her face was on every newspaper in the country, the first woman to make the FBI's top 10 most wanted list. And for 79 days, she had vanished. Then in February 1969, police in Norman, Oklahoma arrested her while she was applying for a job at a hospital under a fake name. She was calm and polite, one officer said, like she didn't think that she had done anything wrong. Both were charged with kidnapping and extortion. Barbara, meanwhile, returned home fragile but alive. The country called her the girl who came back from the grave. She refused to speak publicly except for one brief statement through her father. "I'm just glad to be home. I want to rest." The trial for Gary Christ was brief. Faced with overwhelming evidence, he pleaded guilty in March 1969. The judge sentenced him to life in prison. Ruth Eisman Shire also pled guilty and received 7 years, though she served just 4 before being deported to Honduras. For the FBI, the case was considered a miracle of survival and investigative precision. For the Mackles, it was a trauma that would take decades to fade. One agent later wrote, "We dug her up and she was alive. In 30 years, I never saw anything like that again." March 1969, the courtroom in Miami is packed. Reporters filled every seat. The cameras flashed, and in the rows sits the Mackle family, composed and visibly shaken. At the defense table, 23-year-old Gary Stephen Christ stared straight ahead. He was dressed neatly in a pressed suit, clean-shaven, almost boyish. It's hard to believe this was the same man who buried a young woman alive. The charges were kidnapping and extortion. Under federal law, those crimes carried the possibility of life in prison. Or if Barbara had died, it would have been the death penalty. But she hadn't died. And the FBI, the Mackles, and even Barbara herself insisted they didn't want vengeance, they just wanted closure. So when Christ pled guilty, they were okay. The courts find the defendant's actions deliberate, premeditated, and cruel. Nevertheless, due to the victim's survival, mercy will temper justice. The sentence is life imprisonment. That's what we hoped, right? That's what we hoped was going to happen.
Mhm.
Because I said it earlier, and we thought that's where this was going. Ruth, like I said, pled guilty as well, but her attorney argued that she had been manipulated by Christ and that she was mesmerized by him, that she followed him out of love and not malice. Although you helped bury a young woman alive, like, I'm sorry. No.
Yeah.
The judge wasn't convinced either, and so she got those 7 years. And Barbara never appeared in court. She stayed at home with her parents away from the cameras. Privately, she told families that she just never wanted to see his face again. I've seen enough, she said. I just want to live. And that's what she did. After months of recovery, Barbara returned to school. She transferred to the University of Miami, determined to finish her education quietly. In 1971, she married her college sweetheart, the same boyfriend that she had the photo of left underground, Stuart Woodward. Together, they built a life far from the spotlight. The Mackle family, still deeply shaken, kept their privacy. Robert Mackle refused most interviews, but in one rare statement, he said, "Money can be replaced. My daughter cannot. I thank God she's alive." And now we're going to get to it. As for Gary Christ, life in prison wasn't so bad. He was a
Oh.
model inmate, intelligent, articulate, and even helpful to other prisoners. By the mid-70s, officials began recommending him for parole. Then in 1979, just 10 years after burying the woman alive, Christ was released
Sh- Like that. uh, I'm
from life
sorry.
in prison. From life in
Because she
prison.
didn't die, like she survived. And his box, he made it really good.
From Newscaster 1979, convicted kidnapper Gary Stephen Christ, whose crime shocked the nation, has been paroled after serving a decade of a life sentence. Authorities say he has expressed remorse and plans to pursue a medical career. Yes, a medical career. The man who once studied pre-med before turning to crime wanted to finish what he had started. And in an astonishing twist, he did. In 1983, Gary Christ enrolled in medical school in Granada and later received permission to practice as a physician's assistant in Alabama. For a while, it looked like he had done the impossible. He had rebuilt his life. He married, he had children, and told interviewers that he had been rehabilitated. He even said, "I've paid my debt. I was young and foolish. I'm not that man anymore." But Gary Christ was still that man. He had just learned how to hide it. In 2006, nearly 4 decades after the kidnapping, Christ was arrested again. This time for smuggling 40 pounds of cocaine aboard a small boat off the coast of Alabama. He was caught in the same waters where the Coast Guard had first taken him in 1968. It was a grim echo of the past. The DEA statement said, Christ was apprehended near Mobile Bay with a cache of narcotics. He has been charged with drug trafficking and possession. He was sentenced to another 5 years in federal prison. When asked by reporters, are you ready for this, Autumn? When asked
I guess I have to be.
when asked by reporters if he had anything to say, Christ simply smiled and replied, "At least nobody got hurt."
Are you kidding me?
Nope. Barbara never responded publicly to that. By then, she had long since vanished from the public life, quietly living under her married name, raising a family, and refusing all interviews. But she did write a book with Miami Herald reporter Jean Miller about her experience called 83 Hours Till Dawn, published in 1970. ABC aired the story in 1972 as part of its ABC Movie of the Week showcase under the title The Longest Night. In 1990, the book was made into a television movie called 83 Hours Until Dawn. Gary Christ, that motherfucker, also wrote a book.
Oh.
It was called, which came out, mind you, which came out 2 years after her book, and it was called Life, the Man Who Kidnapped Barbara Jane Mackle.
Like he's proud of it.
I hope you can hear that my eyes are rolling right now. And it makes me so mad that he tried to profit off her kidnapping again. Like, that just makes me so angry. And it's like he's bragging, like, I'm the man who kidnapped
He
Barbara Jane
is It's
Mackle.
not like he's bragging. He is bragging.
It is so frustrating
He
to
wrote an
me.
entire book on it.
FBI Special Agent Rex Tenney, now retired, said years later, "She was the bravest victim I had ever met. What she had endured and how she came out of it, that's something I'll never forget." When Gary Christ was paroled a second time, he tried to disappear again, but his name never left the shadow of that box. Even in freedom, he was always the man who buried someone alive. In decades since December 1968, the story of Barbara Jane Mackle has drifted somewhere between legend and nightmare. A rich girl buried alive, a criminal genius undone by his own arrogance, a miracle rescue against time. It sounds like a movie, and they made one. And the box, that fiberglass coffin, still exists today. It's stored at the archives at the FBI Academy in Quantico, Virginia. A reminder of what they call the most extraordinary survival case in modern bureau history. For investigators, the Mackle case became a turning point. The FBI director himself issued a memo early 1969 praising the agents for exemplary investigative coordination under extreme urgency. It also forever changed kidnapping responses. Before the Mackle case, some ransom situations relied on family discretion. Afterward, immediate FBI involvement became standard. The idea that notifying the authorities might doom a victim was replaced with the belief that law enforcement coordination could save lives. The Mackle case demonstrated that speed, communication, and evidence recovery can mean the difference between life and death. The Bureau's protocols for kidnapping response has been rewritten accordingly. But the case left deeper, more human marks, too. Barbara's courage became the quiet heart of the story. She never tried to turn it into fame or profit. She never revisited the box or sold her story for headlines. She simply wanted to move on, to build a life not defined by 3 days underground. In a rare private letter to an FBI agent who had helped rescue her, Barbara wrote, "I remember the sounds of the shovels. I remember the light. I will never forget that sound." She went on to say that she was grateful but tired of being called brave. "I did what anyone would do. I tried to live." Her father, Robert Mackle, continued his real estate empire until his death in 2000. His obituary mentioned the kidnapping only once, briefly, as a family tragedy overcome through faith. Ruth Eisman Shire disappeared from public view after her deportation. Journalists tried to find her over the years, and later she said that she would refuse to do any interviews, and most likely she is living in Honduras ever since. Gary Christ became kind of a ghost, reappearing every few years when arrested or denied another medical license. He told a reporter in 2012 that he still regretted what he had done and added, "It wasn't as bad as people made it out to be."
Oh.
He's just the worst. Like, you guys, it was not even that bad. I just buried her for 3 days underground. Like, what are you even upset about? The interviewer described him as polite, detached, and eerily normal. FBI agents who worked on the case said the sight of Barbara's box, the small coffin-like structure with its fan, light, and water jug, haunted them for years. One agent said, "When I look at that box, I thought there is evil in that plans, not rages, and that's worse." The story of Barbara Jane Mackle reminds us how survival sometimes is less about strength and more about stubbornness, a refusal to give up, even when the world goes dark. Her case has become a study in endurance. She didn't scream for attention, she waited for air, and somehow it came. 50 years later, the legend remains. Every retelling brings the same question. What would you think laying in a box in the dark, counting your breaths? The silence, the earth above you, the hope that someone, somewhere would start digging. Barbara Jane Mackle was found alive after 83 hours underground. She lived. And sometimes in true crime, that's the only miracle we get. My sources were the FBI archival case files, the United States versus Stephen Christ and Ruth Eisman Shire, 1969, the Miami Herald and Atlanta Constitution from 1968, FBI bulletins, the Mackle kidnapping case, interviews with Special Agent Rex Terry in FBI retired case file review, Buried Alive, the true story of the Barbara Mackle kidnapping by Ken and Glade, Associated Press archives, the New York Times co-ed found alive, buried 3 days in a box, and People magazine.
I my favorite murder did this one, and like, it is famous, but it still fucking blows my mind that this arrogant douche lord wrote a book, keeps talking about how it's not a big deal, and the little motherfucker is still alive.
Yeah, and the fact that he was like, "You guys, it's, like, not a big deal." Everybody made it out to be worse than it was.
He is still alive. He could have killed her, and
And he went back to prison for like, what an upstanding guy he was. He had 40 pounds of fucking cocaine.
he just wanted to go skiing, okay?
Like, this is just crazy to me. This man is a career criminal, and the fact that he had spent months studying and trying to figure out how to build this box and to attempt to keep her alive. But remember, when they went to go find her, the fan was failing and the light was turning off. And I don't know that she would have survived by the time that they actually found him on the boat because he hadn't told them the exact coordinates. They literally just searched the area and found her. So it's very well that she might not have survived that.
Yeah, and at that point, he'd be like, "Well, I gave her a fan."
Well, honestly, and he only served 10 years for that kidnapping. And also, he also chloroformed and tied up her mom too and assaulted her mom, like, knocking her down. Like, I'm sorry. Haven't
It's
you
just
done
a
enough?
little
And then extorted the
it's
dad for all the
just a
money?
little roughhousing.
It's, like, not a big deal, you guys. I just can't with the fact that he's so nonchalant about it and acts like this wasn't attempted murder. Because if anything, like, say that fan failed earlier, she would have ran out of air.
Yeah, he's a POS.
Yeah. Diabolical. It's not cool.
Diabolical.
Anywho, that was my case.
I like it.
Thanks. And a survivor.
And it was a survivor. My case, not so much,
No.
unfortunately. On that note,
Yeah. Let's bring us down.
let's just go all the way down because it also involves a child being killed.
Which is not the thing that you usually cover. So
Right,
you
it's
say.
so out of my wheelhouse. Oh my goodness. I'm going to hell.
But Autumn is covering this specifically because I asked last week. It's been all over
Yes,
the news like crazy.
everyone has been messaging me. They're like, cover this, cover this, cover this. And of course it's me because Erin won't do it.
Yeah, I won't. Sorry. I'm not the one.
So it's me, lucky me. But it's very local. It's in the headlines right now, and science is cool. So
Yeah. And we will follow up too at the end of this because it is an
stop
ongoing situation.
talking.
I will say nothing else.
She keeps giving it away.
Well,
Not all of our listeners are here in Washington.
that's fair, but this has been on the national news.
A little,
Yeah.
not not wide yet. But anyway, without further ado, I'm
Or
covering
before I keep talking.
yes, before Erin just tells the story for me. I'm covering the murder of Tanya Marie Frazier. Sometimes when I read about a case, I wonder how many people still remember her name. How many people in Seattle, even now, walk past that bus stop on Capitol Hill and have no idea what happened there in the summer of 1994. 14-year-old Tanya Marie Frazier had just finished a summer school class at Meany Middle School. It was July, hot, bright, pretty ordinary. She'd done everything right that day, gone to class, made plans to head to her job afterward. Tanya worked at a little thrift shop run by the Chicken Soup Brigade on Jackson Street. And we all know I love thrifting, so she's a girl after my own heart. But that afternoon, somewhere between school and the bus stop, something went wrong. When Tanya didn't show up for work that day, her mother knew right away something was off. Tanya wasn't the kind of teenager who disappeared on a whim. She was quiet, shy, responsible, the kind of girl who followed through on her word. So when she failed to show up for her shift, her mom called Seattle police and reported her missing. But the initial report labeled her a runaway. It's something we hear over and over in stories from the 80s and 90s. A child goes missing, and the first thought is they probably just ran away. Except most of the time, they didn't. Tanya's family insisted she wouldn't do that. And they were right. 5 days passed. It was Saturday morning, and a Korean War veteran was walking his dog through a wooded area off of the 2200 block of East Highland Drive. That's near the north end of Capitol Hill. Quiet, residential, with steep ravines that fall away behind old houses. He smelled something he recognized immediately from his time in service. The smell of death. Down the ravine, he found Tanya's body. She was partially clothed. Her life had been violently taken from her. The King County medical examiner determined she died from sharp force injuries to her head and neck 3 days earlier, on Wednesday, July 20th, 1994. Her killer had been out there all that time, walking free, while her family waited for answers that never seemed to come. Seattle police didn't have a dedicated crime scene investigation team back then. So the two lead detectives, Greg Mixel and Tom Pike, had to do everything themselves. They processed the scene, collected what evidence they could, and tried to build a picture of what happened to Tanya. But technology was limited. There was no rapid DNA matching, no genealogical databases, no digital footprints to trace. For years, detectives followed every lead they could. At one point, they even suspected a school janitor. Another man volunteered his DNA, hoping to clear his name. And he did. Nothing stuck. As one retired detective, Cloyd Steiger, later recalled, "We were just throwing darts back then. He probably wasn't even on our radar. He may have just been someone who randomly saw her and picked her up." Over the next 3 decades, Tanya's family lived with the pain of not knowing. The case never technically went cold. It was never shelved. But there were no breakthroughs either. Detectives came and went. Forensic tools evolved. And through it all, the evidence gathered by those first officers, their careful work in 1994, sat in storage, waiting for science to catch up. Tanya's clothes were later found at a golf course in West Seattle. But even that lead didn't take investigators to the person responsible. Imagine holding onto hope for 31 years.
That's
And
it's unimaginable.
imagine not knowing who hurt your child or why. Then, in 2025, something changed. New testing at the Washington State Patrol Crime Lab pulled a fresh DNA profile from evidence recovered during Tanya's autopsy, something that hadn't been possible before. That DNA was uploaded into national databases and it matched. Police announced that after more than 3 decades, they had finally found the man responsible for taking Tanya's life. His name? Mark Anthony Russ, 57 years old at the time of his arrest. A convicted violent offender, a level 3 sex offender who had spent 25 years behind bars before being released in 2021. Russ had a long record of assaults and domestic violence. He'd been living in the Seattle area when he was taken into custody. At a press conference, Seattle Police Chief Sean Barnes said, "For more than 30 years, Tanya's family wanted nothing more than answers, closure, and justice. As a father of 3 kids, I can't imagine the pain Tanya's family has had to endure. Today, I am grateful to announce that we have finally found the man responsible for taking her life." Detective Rolf Norton, who has worked homicide for more than 20 years, credited those original detectives, Mixel and Pike, for the groundwork they laid. He said, "The fact that we are here 31 years later, talking about how physical evidence got us to the finish line is really remarkable and a testament to their skills." A few hours after the press conference, Russ appeared. Well, technically waived his appearance in King County District Court. A judge found probable cause to hold him for investigation of first-degree murder with sexual motivation. The prosecutor's office described him as having a long history of violent behavior and requested that he be held without bail. The judge agreed. Now, the case moves into the next phase, the slow grind of the justice system. When retired Detective Steiger was asked about it, he said Tanya's killing was the first homicide case he ever worked. It stayed with him for more than 30 years. She was an innocent girl, he said. You pull the stops out for a child homicide. There's clearly a predator out there, and he's a danger to everybody else if he's not caught. It was never a case that just sat on a shelf. Never. And now, after all these years, science finally caught up. Forensics did what time couldn't. It's impossible to measure what Tanya's family lost that day. She was just 14 years old, with friends, a summer job, and a life stretching out ahead of her. But thanks to relentless detectives, advancing technology, and a refusal to let her name be forgotten, she's finally found her voice again through justice. Chief Barnes said it best: closure and justice. Though, as we know, closure rarely feels complete. Still, there's something powerful in knowing that even after decades, the truth can still rise to the surface. For Tanya Marie Frazier, gone too soon, but never forgotten. My sources were the Seattle Police Department news release, Seattle Times, Como News, The Independent article, "A teen vanished after leaving her summer school class in 1994. Her suspected killer has just been arrested." Fox 13 Seattle article, "Man charged with 1994 Seattle cold case murder expected in court."
It's
So there
just
was
crazy to me.
there wasn't, like, a lot. Obviously, it's a local case, and
Yeah,
there's not a lot of details, but, I mean, the fact that this piece of shit was out and about, and then he was even arrested for he was locked up for 21 years, and the motherfucker couldn't I don't know, confess and give that family peace. Like, this guy is just a rotten piece of shit, and I hope they throw the book at him. I hope he never sees the light of day again.
I feel like they will. And again, like I said, are going to follow up on this as soon as sentencing happens and let you know what comes from this. But one of the things that strikes me always with these kind of cases is that forensics, the way that it is and the use of like the genealogy and things that they've done, the newer techniques, is finally bringing closure to so many cases.
Mhm, so
You
many
know,
of these old fucking coward motherfuckers, and I don't usually cuss, but these pieces of shit, ooh, they get me
they deserve
blood
it.
boiling because they have been hiding like little piece of shit cowards, thinking that no one will ever find them, and guess what, you pieces of shit? We are finding you.
And if anything, it also, like, in my case last week, was also found DNA later in life, you know? Is one of those things where, like, the guy did pass away and got to live his entire life that
Mhm,
way. But
mhm,
now, with the new technology, people are gonna be less and less able to get away with those types of
mhm.
crimes.
Yeah, we are coming for you, so don't get comfortable.
Don't get comfortable. That's our new slogan. Murder, not
I mean,
murdering,
yeah,
don't get
don't get
comfortable.
comfortable. I mean, you sick bastard. Like, I
Truly. I
cannot.
mean,
I
and
cannot.
it's
This poor
just,
girl living her life. Like, are you kidding me? Like, what the fuck?
and the thing is I didn't really remember it at first, but then
No, I mean,
when I saw her
yeah.
picture I was like, "Oh, I remember seeing that picture around." I feel like, I mean, the 80s and 90s were like the time of kidnappings, and I feel like I just remember it being like always talked about, kidnappings, and there was all of the
Well,
commercials and
yeah,
stuff of
because
like,
there was, like, no real way to catch these people back then.
no, and I feel like too, you think of, how unsolved mysteries and all of those things that came about from multiple kidnappings and cases like that. I feel like we were in this generation of kids that grew up hearing so much about that. I mean, I just don't get in anybody's cars, say you're not my mom. Like all of those things were very like burnt into our brain, even just to go to the mall. So I think it's kind of crazy when you think of the time period of all of that. And we had Jean Benet Ramsey, there were so many like famous ones that all happened kind of around that same time period. So,
I really hope JonBenet Ramsey case gets solved. Like, I
I
truly
heard
that
that they had a big break the other day,
they always
but
say
they say
that.
that, yeah,
And then nothing's gone. I mean, I don't know how true
over the
that
years.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
But
I truly hope in my lifetime we find out who killed that little girl.
sometimes I really wonder if, like they're saying now with all of this new technology, it'd be so I feel like we all need closure from that one. I mean,
Mhm.
obviously her family, but like everybody else too really needs closure, and all of the suspects and all the people that have been talked about in the theories and conspiracies and all of that, just it would be really great to find an answer to that. I feel like so many of those things, and we're seeing it more and more. We had Golden State Killer, we've had so many others, so many from here that have all been figured out. So here's looking to the future of science in that way, and that we find more answers to our questions. But also, autumn is coming for you, so be
Mhm.
prepared.
Watch your back.
Yeah. And like I said, we will follow up on this case and let you know what comes of sentencing and how that all goes. Obviously it's going to take some time, but it's all underway right now. And don't forget to go to our Instagram page where we will post pictures and information about our cases, as well as um, where to find our episodes, or to go to our TikTok, mnm.pod, and learn more, see the people we're talking about, see the scenes that we're speaking of, see the box, the infamous box that Barbara Jane Mackle was kept in. So, anyway, that is the end of this episode, but we will be back next week with a brand new cases for you guys. If you have any cases you'd like us to cover, slide into our DMs and we'll be back again next week. Bye.
Bye.